What's the good word, everybody? Welcome to the Jets Flight Squad podcast. We got your boys in the building as normal. DKBxJets. We got Gunny Gumby, New York Jets Situation Report, and of course we got Italy Jet, aka Gino, aka Everything NYJ. Hopefully everybody's having a good day. We're just chatting it up. Hope everybody that's dealing with Hurricane, what's the name? Hillary, right?
Hillary. Yeah,
Hurricane
Hillary
Hillary.
coming through.
Hopefully you guys are doing all right. Taking whatever precautions and stuff you guys need to. Stuff looking scary out there, but on a higher note, um, we've been having a very interesting week in Jets land. Some mysterious injuries creeping up. We took the L, but there's a lot of good takeaways from this Buccaneers game as well. So I had just caught up on the highlights last night, but how did you guys feel the game was going?
You can start again.
I mean, I guess what it boils down to is, what I'm saying, you want to see touchdowns, right? You kind of want to see touchdowns, and we didn't get one. We got a missed field goal as well, the first one of Greg Zuerlein thus far in the preseason, which was kind of surprising because it was a chip shot field goal for him. But I think what it boils down to, we got a couple of trips into the red zone, and we couldn't finish. And to me, that's what you're looking at when it comes to the second and third team offense, right? Like these are the guys are second and third teamers for a reason. They can't operate to the level of the first team guys, and I think that's why I'm not really too disheartened by it. Another thing that I brought up was somebody was like, "Oh my God, I'm saying the Jets are 1-2, 1-2 in the off. I'm sorry, 1-2 in the off season." This is crazy, and I'm like, first and foremost, it's a welcome change of pace because the New York Jets have been undefeated in the Saleh era in the past preseasons. How'd that work out for us both of those seasons? So if we're starting it off now, I'm all about it. Give me the change of pace early, getting these weak losses out of the way now, so we can go ahead and go on a winning streak. So for me, you got to see. I think the biggest component was the offensive line, right? And those guys looked good. Freaking Mekhi Becton looked great. Like he played great at right tackle. That was very, very promising. Trey Dean continuing to put stuff on tape, making him one of those guys that you look at and you're like, God, this kid can really play. He's all over the field. He's literally impacting the football or playing the football like every other down. It seems like. So he's making a name for himself in that safety room, which is becoming to get a little bit more crowded now. And of course, the defensive line did defensive line things, right? They wound up with 3 sacks on the evening, nothing through the roof, but they were out there for the first quarter, and not even the starters either. This was like our second team defensive line. So overall, you saw things that you were like, okay, cool. It wasn't pretty. There was a lot of errors. You saw Kuntz make a lot of mistakes. Like you're starting to wonder whether or not.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? This kid's going to play, literally in the preseason, play himself out of a roster spot. I'm afraid of us cutting him, trying to sneak him onto the practice squad because his freaking RAS score, his athletics are so through the roof that someone's going to take a chance on that kid. But overall, it was a coming out party for Mekhi Becton, and that's really what I cared about. I really wanted to go ahead and see what Mekhi looked like at right tackle. He dominated on the right side of the line. You saw Zach Wilson get a little bit of freaking swag to him, right? That freaking nice breakout run, like his confidence is building. Hey, for QB2, we got to start expecting QB2 things from this kid, and this is going to be a guy that if he needs to go in and he can go ahead and extend some plays, let the defense and the running game win the game for us, so be it. You saw enough to feel good about that as well. So for me, it was mid, but the things you wanted to see, you got to see. I am starting to feel like more and more there might not be a rookie wide receiver that actually makes this freaking roster, though, after seeing that game. But overall, I mean, it was football. I enjoyed it. I'm still waiting for the real thing.
Where you at, Gino?
I think first and foremost, I think people on Facebook and Twitter need to calm the hell down when it comes to preseason games if we win or lose. It's just preseason. Shut up. Enjoy the game. It's fine. It's just preseason. Everyone's complaining about how, we need to win this game. Oh, we suck. Why isn't Rodgers playing? I'm like, people, calm down. It's preseason. It's fine. That's number one. Number two, Beckham was ranked 85 on PFF in his position, 28 snaps. I enjoyed every minute of it. He was manhandling people. Joe Tittman did very well. I'm worried about his injury. I want to see what's up with it, but we haven't heard anything since Saturday. So that could be a good thing and a bad thing. But knowing me, I'm worried because if it's a good thing, then it must be not serious since we haven't seen or heard anything, right? If it's bad, then that means they're lingering and they're trying to get more tests. They're trying to figure stuff out, and then the bombshell happens. That's what we got to expect when it comes to Jet stuff right now. That's number one. That's number one. Number two, Billy Turner. He was good with the run block. Him and Beckham were good run block. He was 90% on PFF, which I really enjoyed. I don't think he's going to start, but I really Cook and Hall are going to cook. Just like that, cook. They're going to cook, right? They're going to cook. I really like what I'm seeing on the right side in the offensive line when it comes to running back game because if they continue to go with the stats more up and up, I'm going to be happy. Happy with Tittman, happy with Beckham. I agree with Gunny. Kuntz is unreliable right now. You could even see in the Hard Knocks, he made a wrong play, still had a touchdown, right? In this one, he'd even block well when Zach Wilson was coming up that right side. I'm a little worried, but I do think if he does get on the practice squad, someone's going to take a chance on him. With his height and his build, it's going to be pretty interesting to see what happens going forward with him. I think Corey Davis for me is kind of on the bubble a little bit. I love Corey Davis. I think I really think he's going to fit this system, but it's going to be between Corey and some of the rookies that are coming in because I know they're kind of worried with how much time he's missed, but I still think he could be a good weapon overall. I'm looking at the linebacker position. I was not happy with linebacker position at all this game. I was only happy with Barnes with the speed and getting everywhere. Ashton Davis and Trey Dean stock went up. They went up. Very good to see. I like what I'm seeing out of those guys. But Bam Knight, I think he's on the hot take right now. He's not – the opportunities were there. He just didn't capitalize them. I think he's on the hot seat. But that's me.
Yeah, I don't have really too many hot takes with the Bucks game. Couldn't catch everything. The highlights try to make everything look super favorable. But what you guys mentioned and what I saw versus some of the all 22 that some people broke down as well lines up. I will say I'm probably in the minority, though. I actually care quite a bit about the preseason games, not from the standpoint that, we're not looking at our starters the majority of the time and all of that. But I look at teams like the Baltimore Ravens, who has the longest streak of preseason wins. I think they're like 22 now or something like that, as being a well-coached team that executes all throughout their roster, from their first stringers down to their third and fourth. I would like us to be that team because we actually do have some very talented people, even as third string and undrafted free agents that would be key role players on other teams for the most part. And we just have certain depth in certain areas to where they're mitigated a little bit more. So I would like to see that we're actually winning some of these games. I do think that means, like we see with a guy like Zach Kuntz, 2 dumb holding penalties that are, killing some solid drives, uncharacteristic field goal misses, different things like that. But that's really the only takeaway I have from the preseason game aspect of things. I would like to see us perform a little bit better, even if we're not necessarily coming away with wins. These should all be games that it feels like we're in. And once our second string guys come out, like there's a huge drop off. So something I'd like to see there get fixed. But in terms of the topic for today, kind of doing a stock check on our rookie class, and we'll see if we can squeeze in some of the UDFA guys. So Will McDonald, I know this game was quiet for him. I think I saw it was like 18-ish snaps or something, but he couldn't rack up anything on the stat sheet. But overall, for me, I would say Will McDonald's clearly, on the rise in terms of stock. He's a guy that seems like he's somehow found a way to break out in the defensive line room and be one of those, top 2 or 3 guys that can find consistent playing time on this roster, which for the preseason games, joint practices, regardless, I think is exceeding any of the expectations we all had, especially considering none of us really knew a ton about who he was when we drafted him in the first round. But where you guys at with it?
Yeah, Will had a quiet night, right? But what's crazy is he also racked up pressures, right? So he racked up
Facts.
a couple of pressures. You know what I'm saying? He kind of forced that quarterback to get rid of the ball a little bit quicker, and those count, right? Those count for an edge rusher trying to go ahead and speed the clock up a little bit for a quarterback. But I think what we see in him is his ability to go ahead and I mean, that spin move is effective. You see him trying to incorporate his bull rush a little bit. It's almost as if every rep he goes in with a game plan to go ahead and beat the lineman. It's not like he's just going out there believing purely in his athletic ability or his speed but no, he's looking at ways to go ahead and set up moves and then counter. Like it's you see it clear as day on tape. I think the Buffalo Jet fan said it perfectly. This, if you watch the tape on him last year, this was a professional football player playing in college that hadn't played in the pros yet, and you're seeing him playing the pros now. I think Will McDonald is going to go ahead and do some things this year that's going to shock us. I know some people are already putting him up there as defensive rookie of the year. I would pause on that a little bit based off of the amount of reps he might get, because again, this is a very, very deep defensive line. But ultimately, you can't be upset about it. Will McDonald is the future edge rusher. Like, he's the future of this Jets defensive line. He's going to be one of those impactful players we have on the edge, doing damage, causing chaos to any freaking quarterback that's back there or offensive lineman. So I think that's very promising to see us select a guy who could potentially fit that blue chip model that has an upside and a ceiling that's going to go ahead and be impactful on this line for years to come. Love him. Love the kid. Love his work. Love his focus and the way he looks at football in general. Home run pick, I think, by Joe Douglas. I mean, granted, it's just preseason. We got to see him put this into implementation in regular season games. But you got to love the resume he's putting out there right now. The body of work is speaking for itself in terms of he's beating the people that they're putting in front of him. So now next up is he's going to go ahead and do that at the next level as well, which is in regular season games.
I think McDonald's quietly becoming one of my favorite Jets right now. I think overall, actually, no, you know what? No, not quietly. He's becoming one of my favorite Jets right now. Everything that I've seen from film and everything I've seen from Iowa State, everything I've seen from the preseason, the kid just bowls over you. It's like he's half bowl. Every time he goes into it, when he goes to the right, he always has his arm up on the right side, curving that. Like, if people don't like, that's his tell. If you could block that, then you can kind of block Will McDonald. But his speed and his motion to get to that player every single time, because his motor doesn't stop. When you have a guy on defense, when motor doesn't stop, it's going to make it really rough for the offensive line to keep up with you, especially if you're on an injury. And McDonald's motor just doesn't stop. And I love that because this is such a solid guy. This is such a solid guy. This is such a JD guy. If McDonald can continue to just get better and get the reps, he's going to be, I don't know about defensive rookie of the year. I think he can make a case for himself. But if he can just continue to get better and better, which I know that he will, this is going to be a home run, just like JJ. You give JJ and McDonald more reps, they are going to be the future of the New York Jets. I think this was a home run hitting pick.
Yeah, I think the only knock that I've seen and heard on him so far is let me think. I don't think he's exceeded like 24-ish snaps or something like that in any game. So let's just say he has 60 reps to his name. I think we've seen somewhere between like 6 and 10 spin moves already, and I think he's tried to pull them off on like the same series. Not that they haven't been ineffective. I think he's won at least half of them for sure, but trying to see him develop something else or at least test something out in the preseason, I think would do well for him. But nitpicking, Joe Tippmann. So he's an interesting guy to me because a lot of people, especially with the news with him taking 13 reps for the majority of the offseason, they were down on him quite a bit. And a lot of people were feeling like maybe we missed and we should have taken JMS in the draft. And then it seemed like his stock started going up into this knee injury. So where are you guys at with Joe Tippmann?
Go ahead, Ed.
Honestly, it's ridiculous, right? These guys haven't played a single down in the league, and already people are calling him a bust. And it's mind blowing to me. JMS hasn't played a single down in the league too. You have no idea. Yes, you're hearing great things at a training camp, but it is still training camp. Zach Wilson has torn it up in training camp for the last couple of years. We've all been piped and pumped out. How did that work out for us in regular season games? Like, there's a difference between when the bullets are flying and then training camp. And I get it. JMS was on most people's board as the number one. Personally, I like Whippler. I thought he was the guy. But Joe Tippmann was consistently that number two, number three guy across the board, right? Like, he was a top potential center candidate. So the kid hasn't played yet. But of all of these guys, he most likely has, I think, the highest ceiling. I mean, Joe Tippmann's athletic ability, his ability to go ahead and use his size for leverage, his bend, his flexibility. Like, at his size, he moves in ways that shouldn't be possible, and yet he can. So I see the upside in the kid being available, not to mention his availability to play left guard, right guard, center. That makes him very, very versatile. So I get it. We're Jets fans. We're very, very scared. PTSD is huge on us. We always get things wrong. So before things even get a chance to develop, we want to go ahead and be the one to say, I told you so. This is going to work out. But Joe Tippmann, I think, at the end of the day, winds up being the starting center for the Jets. Just a matter of time. The ceiling is there. It's there. And even the struggles he's had in camp, you know what I'm saying, you've seen him continually get better week after week after week. So he's learning from it and growing from it. And that's all you can ask of a rookie. So for me, my biggest question mark right now is whether or not he's injured for real or he's not. That's kind of got me a little bit concerned. But he has the length and ability to be a very versatile piece on this offensive line. And I don't see how you could look at that and think of it in a negative way.
Tippmann is reminding me a lot of Vera Tucker right now because he could play multiple positions. He's getting better every single time. The injury is going to make him – what we'll see what happens with the injury. How bad is, how big is it? And there is a lot of PTSD with Jets fans, but overall, I would still not mind him if he didn't play half the season, or he comes in the middle of the season just like Mitchell. I just want them to continue to grow Tippmann the right way, and I think they are going to do that this time with this coaching staff. Tippmann. Wisconsin produces very good center, guards, tackles all the time. And we got a gem. He was my second guy that I wanted, and I'm super happy that we got him. And I think it's just going to continue to get better and better to see what happens after that injury. But overall, Tippmann, every single down, he plays the whole game, and he kept growing and growing. So that's what I like to see in a guard, tackle, center, any of them really.
Yeah, I think because of the shape that our roster has been in for so long, we get used to the fact that we need to have starters with our first and second round picks, which generally, yes, that's the consensus. But when you take a look at all the great teams, when they go out and just get the best available player, they're not plugging into a position of need necessarily. So they have time to let that guy sit, let him adjust to the NFL speed, power, technique, etc. So maybe seeing him play with the third string team for as long as he was a little bit crazy. But overall, I think the way the competition played out was fair. There's a reason why we didn't see Wes Schweitzer get any of the snaps over Joe Tippmann when the preseason games actually kicked around. And it's kind of the same storyline that Max Mitchell had. He's just doing it at the NFL level now. He went out there, he played his preseason game reps, he dominated. It's not like he just looked okay on tape. He went out there and completely wiped out a lot of the guys at the second level and who was in front of him. And he earned his way into what I think he got 2 practices worth of first team reps recently. So I think they handled it the right way. Kind of like you mentioned earlier, Gino, I am a little bit concerned about the knee injury and what may be going on there just because it's been a lack of info. I seen Matt O'Leary drop a video on it, but I didn't get a chance to check it out yet. So I don't know if he found an update that we didn't. But yeah, I mean, in terms of the upside and everything else that he brings, I think the kid's going to be phenomenal. He could probably find a way to go out there and start week 1 realistically. But when you have a guy like Connor McGovern, who's going to bring consistency for you to right out the gate, and you don't have to put Tippmann in that situation, I think that's the best that we can ask for. But let me think. We didn't have our third stringer, so our next pick was Izzy, right? No, Carter Warren was first.
I'm pretty sure it was Carter Warren, right? No.
Yeah. I think it was Carter
It's Carter
first and
Warren.
then Izzy.
Yeah, then Izzy. Yeah. And then Barnes and then Conrad. Yeah.
Yeah, Jarek Bernard. Okay, so Carter Warren, I think he's only played like 2 or 3 practices from what I understand so far over the entire offseason. He's been mostly rehabbing. And I think we seen him in the Panthers preseason game, and we haven't seen him
Yeah.
since.
Right.
So there's little to nothing to really know about him. But um, I don't know. Thoughts on what we're kind of looking at with him, because he kind of seems like he's on the outside looking in terms of the tackle situation, and probably is a likely guy that we can sneak onto the practice squad if nothing else.
When he was out there, he didn't show much. I was very keen on because I wanted to see what he got. He is a New Jersey native, so everyone's rooting for him out there because the Jets and stuff. But overall, I didn't see much. And he missed a couple tackles in that game too. So I'm like, okay, maybe it's an injury thing. Maybe he just needs to get used to the NFL. Maybe he needs a rehab. Maybe he just needs a redshirt year. Maybe he gets cut and go to the practice squad. But overall, there's nothing much to go on with Warren right now.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, what has he shown us, right? I don't think we know whether or not this dude's going to be a hit or a miss yet. It's just one of those things where he hasn't shown us enough. And at the end of the day, not the year for us to go ahead and be freaking trying out new pieces and giving opportunities to a guy that just can't show enough during training camp. We've got a very, very small window here. This is one of those things where you stash him, right? And I think Gino hit on the head. I don't think someone's going to pick him up if you go ahead and you cut him. I think he's a great candidate for the practice squad. You stash him, you develop him. Maybe it takes a little while longer. But yeah, I mean, what can you say about him, right? Like it's not as if he's been freaking out there, you know what I'm saying, pancaking folks or giving us much to go off of. We really don't know. So to give, I mean, truthfully, when he was drafted, a lot of us were like, "Huh, who?" Right? Like
I was one of them. I scratched my head.
Yeah, I had no clue who the kid was or what he brought to the table, and but I do know that he was like, I think the biggest thing was he was a leader in college, right? Everybody freaking respected him, and he was, I think he was a captain, if I'm not mistaken. So he fits that profile, right, in terms of a high character guy for Joe Douglas. But other than that, it's just a big question mark. So I don't know. I really can't have something to say about the kid. We haven't seen him enough to really have anything we can say about the kid.
Yeah, he was weird. Even when I think back to the draft, when we picked him and I scrambled to find a bunch of stuff, it was very mixed reviews. Like I see the Teagles point that he did at one point have a second round grade on him.
Okay.
So it wasn't like a steep fall off. The injury did impact him quite a bit. Same thing with like Izzy, for example. But the reviews were still very mixed on like the scouting reports. A lot of people either cited light feet, above average pass protector with some run blocking stuff to improve on, or they completely like railroaded him and they were like, you know, at best, if he develops to, you know, the best that he can, he's maybe a swing tackle. So we'll see. Yeah, as we mentioned, there's not really a whole lot of stuff to really go on with him per se, but I think having him sit for a year anyways was always going to be the plan. I didn't predict any Max Mitchell type of situation that he'd fall into. So hopefully that's the case. We hear about him next year in like a different tackle room. Izzy's in the middle of an interesting running back battle right now. We have, so from my understanding, at least the way that I'm looking at things, for the entirety of this offseason, up until this actual Bucks game, it seemed like, of course, Breece Hall was a lock. Obviously, Dalvin Cook were locking in. The third guy seemed like it was going to be Bam Knight. He had a very shaky preseason game after kind of shredding through a lot of our offseason practices and joint practices. That game seems like it tanked his stock for a lot of people. I don't know how the coaching staff feels because I haven't seen any reports from them. But a lot of people are placing him on the roster bubble now, and they're giving his job to MC, to Michael Carter, or they're giving it to Izzy since he's the most recent draft pick. Izzy scored, I think, the only rushing touchdown for our running backs this season, and we've seen what he looks like rushing outside of the tackles. I think he improved immediately from the Panthers game to the Bucks game in terms of rushing in between the tackles. But what do you guys think? Are you picking him over a Michael Carter and a Bam Knight to make this roster if we only carry 3, or kind of what's the situation in your eyes?
For Izzy?
Is he? Like,
look, listen. Yeah. We're carrying 4 running backs. There's no way we're not carrying 4 running backs. There's not a situation on planet Earth where the New York Jets are going to go with, Dalvin Cook coming off an injury, Breece Hall coming off an injury, and a rookie running back who's never done anything. There's just no way. Michael Carter is going to be here, and Izzy's going to be here. Bam is the odd man out. And a lot of people are going to sit there and tell you, no, Bam is the better guy, and he played well for 2 games last year against the worst defenses imaginable. But at the end of the day, bless you, at the end of the day, ultimately,
appreciate it.
Michael Carter showed us for an entire season he could play in the NFL. We saw that. That wasn't a figment of our imaginations. Michael Carter last season, before injuries to the offensive line, showed he can play in the NFL. That wasn't a figment of the imagination. It's not close, man. I like Bam. I do like Bam. It's not that I don't like him. But this isn't about how my feelings are. It's about facts. It's about stats. It's about who's going to help the Jets win this year. And simply put, it's Breece number 1, Cook number 2, Carter number 3, and Izzy's number 4. And we're not going to get Bam on the practice squad. I know it. We can try. There's a possibility, but I think he'll get scooped up. But after that, man, I'm kind of baffled by how we all forgot. Last year when we drafted Breece, 90% of Jets fan base was just we got our guy in Michael Carter. That wasn't specifically a need for us at running back. And now that we have Breece and we've seen Breece dominate last year, Michael Carter had an off year due to injury. Maybe it's the freaking sophomore slump. Who knows? That's still a thing in the NFL. Who knows? We've forgotten that the kid was really, really good. I think he was one of the top 3 backs in missed tackles in the NFL. Year 1,
number 2, I'm pretty sure.
Number 2, yeah. The dude was really good. Michael Carter was really, really good. So for me, I think it's of course Breece, of course Dalvin. It's Michael Carter at RB3 and Izzy at RB4. Unfortunately, Bam Knight will not be on this team unless, he's a practice squad guy.
Izzy has shown that he can be the future of the New York Jets, and it's not even the NFL yet. We're not even into the season yet. Izzy has that spin move. Holy crap. The way he attacks open space, the way he bowls over these linebackers. Bam Knight, he's had a great camp, but he hasn't shown it in the game. Carter, just like Gunny said, is looking like that this was just a fluke last year. This year, and Michael Carter's a great locker room guy. Everybody loves him. When you see all these behind-the-scenes stuff, everyone's always around Carter. I like that. I don't think he's going to get traded anymore. I still think he's going to be on this team. Just like Connor Hughes said in his tweet this weekend, the stock for Bam Knight has gone down. And I still believe that. I still think he's going to be the odd man out. And I do agree with Tigo, which I was going to bring up in my next point. There are a lot of Bam Knights in the NFL. I'm not really sure if he's going to get claimed or not. I think it's 50-50. There's going to be people that want to work on a project and get the high ceiling, or people don't want to take a chance at all because running backs, you can get anybody as a running back right now. So for now, I think Izzy has potential to be the 3rd guy eventually, but I still think he's going to be a 4th. I love what I'm seeing out of him right now.
Yeah, I mean, I still would pick Izzy to make the roster. He hasn't shown anything to prove otherwise. Maybe not being as involved in the receiving game. You haven't seen as much ability for him to do multiple things. I haven't necessarily seen him a ton on special teams, if any. Again, haven't seen him in the receiving game, but I at least remember my earlier conversations when we initially drafted them and we got a couple practices under our belt where if we never added Cook, that was going to be my guy from an explosive standpoint to replace a Breece Hall over a guy like Michael Carter as the main ball carrier. So it would only make sense. I know with our 5th guy, Jerick Bernard Converse, he's been on the PUP list. I want to say he played 1 practice, if that, but he's been physically unable to perform ever since. Not it's less to talk about with him than it is with Carter Warren. He's still in a
Facts.
boot. Um, and I don't know. His injury situation is very weird too. If I remember correctly, it's an ankle or a knee issue with him. But yeah, we haven't seen anything whatsoever. He looks like he's destined for practice squad as well. So I don't know if anybody else has anything to add, but
No, I mean, like you said, bro. Like,
Yeah, there's
he's
really
been
not
on the
much to go
sidelines,
off him right
right?
now. We just
Like,
know
yeah,
we just know he's versatile. He can play
yeah, very
safety
versatile.
and the corner position. That's it right now.
I think more so for him, you're looking at, what I'm saying, potential, vice like what we've been able to see, right? There's nothing that would state one way or another that at this level he can ball or cannot ball. But yeah, like you said, he's been in the boot. We don't know, but yeah, potential. You know what I'm saying? Ceiling potentially what he can be, vice what he currently is.
so I think that leaves us with our last guy, Zaire Barnes. Then, so I've been impressed with him pretty thoroughly. He matches everything Robert Saleh loves. He can play all over the field. He has the speed to get all over the field. Him having a natural role as a pass rusher, you can see coming out with how he delivers his hits, the angles he's taking. Right now, he's second in the NFL in the preseason in tackles, just behind our other guy, Trey Dean, for what it's worth. And I don't think he has the highest snap count at his position either. So he's making the most of his plays out on the field. Um, I don't know if we keep five linebackers anymore, but would you slot him into the fourth position by default right now?
I would. I know a lot of people like this, the Chaz Surratt story. You know what I'm saying? Like he's a fan and whatnot of Coach Saleh, but at the end of the day, Zaire Barnes has been balling out. He's been taking advantage of every opportunity given and making plays on the field. And I think he's also one of those guys who could be a nice addition, you know what I'm saying, in coverage. He's got the speed, the length. I like everything about the kid. We weren't too sure if he'd be ready to go at the NFL level. I thought more so he'd be more of a special teamer. But he can do that too. He can be a special teamer while being that fourth back in the room. I've enjoyed thoroughly watching him play. You know what I'm saying? And again, this is the simplest of defensive schemes, you know what I'm saying? Simplest of offensive schemes where his IQ is that, you know what I'm saying? We'll see. But thus far, he's done enough to where I feel like he's earned a spot on this roster. Yeah, I'm in on Barnes. Like I'm in on Barnes. I would like to see him get that last spot.
Heck yeah, man. When he got drafted, I was like, okay, so probably special teams guy. The way that he's been attacking space and his coverage and the way and his speed with everything that's been happening, totally an Ulbrich solid guy. And I agree with Tigo in the chat. Like Ulbrich fought to get him on this team. Have you seen the behind the scenes? I'm loving what Barnes brings to the table, and I bet you Jets fans didn't think he would bring nothing to the table. Maybe just a special teams guy. But I'm thoroughly impressed. I think he's gonna make the fourth spot, maybe the fifth. I still think we're gonna carry maybe four linebackers, but I would lock him in. I love what I'm saying. And I'm not gonna be I think DK, weren't you really high on him before? So this is your win too, because you liked him as well.
Yeah, so I didn't know a ton about him. Of course, when we got drafted, once you get into day three, like it's kind of a. I don't pretend to be a professional scout, right? So all of these guys are new to me for the most part. But Robert Saleh was familiar with them. He's played in a similar division and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's also the shock factor there as well. He would have probably been one of the rawest players, even though he's had a ton of experience in the NFL, but playing in college, but playing in the division that he plays in, you don't expect many NFL type players there. So, he was probably a long shot to make the roster by most people. If you pay attention to Robert Saleh and how he's referenced Barnes, though, over the course of this offseason, he's gone from saying he's a guy that has all the tools that we're looking for, but obviously, he's going to need a lot of seasoning to, hey, he's developing. There's still a lot of things to work on, but you kind of get the sense that he likes the job that he's been getting done so far this preseason. I think I would probably still personally play Surratt over him, but Surratt hasn't been healthy, so.
He's talking about Kuntz. That's what he's talking about, Gunny. Kuntz needs to get NFL hard.
Yeah, I'm
and they're
aware.
talking about you. Okay. That's why I was like, you look confused for a second.
I was actually
yeah,
reading Tigo's comment.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Fair. Okay, I don't feel so bad then.
Like, I always feel like Tigo's yelling all the time every time he's in the chat. I feel like he's just yelling his answers.
Tigo is just—he's one of those excited, like he just.
Oh, I know.
He just talks really
Portuguese,
big. Like, that's how
Portuguese man. I know that's Portuguese man. He's
the rumor is they turned the caps lock off on Tigo's phone, so that's why it just looks normal. We'll wrap it up. I doubt we'll get to the UDFAs because I know we got some stuff to do. But Zach Kuntz, we kind of already chatted about it.
Yeah.
He's looking like he's playing himself out of a position. It was going to be hard to win it anyways because Kenny Yeboah's actually shown some solid, consistent work this entire preseason. Multiple touchdowns. He's done it with the second string, the third string guys. He's shown out in the actual preseason games. I think the biggest credit to him is that he hasn't really made any visible mistakes to the regular NFL fan, whereas with Zach Kuntz, we've actually seen him be a detriment to the offense. So I don't know. We've mentioned it before. Joe Douglas, he has his history so far of not cutting his draft guys in the first year. He finds a way to get them onto the roster, but this one seems like one of those hard cuts that we might just have to deal with, and we pray to God that we can get him onto the actual practice squad.
Right.
Yeah, 100%. I just think that when you look at that tight end room, it's got talent and it's deep. And Yeboah has worked his way to get to this point right now to where he can finally start showing out and potentially get some more playing time on the field. This potential scheme also allows you to have multiple tight end sets too. So like it's you already know freaking CJ and Conklin and Rucker are going to get out there. There's going to need to be a fourth tight end. I don't think they carry five. So, yeah, I think Yeboah right now does have the edge. But like you said, Joe likes to keep the guys he drafts. So it's very possible that you do see Kuntz being that guy that makes it based off of that as well alone. But does Yeboah potentially make it to the practice squad? Do you think he can slip by? I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't even know if he's eligible anymore, right? Don't they have to? I think he's played 2 years for us. And I think I forget the requirements, but I know there's something about however many snaps they're limited to, playing in the previous year. And I think you can't have more than like 2 or 3 accrued seasons with the team. I got to double check on that.
Even Charles, even Charles and Jenkins have been doing okay. I mean, they haven't been doing the best, but they've been doing okay. But I don't think they're going to make the team. But even they've been doing a little bit better than Kuntz has. I think Yeboah. I think right now, right now, Yeboah's got the edge over Kuntz as of today. Right? I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah.
I don't see anything that Kuntz has done better. I seen Boycott. He mentioned him blocking better and having the touchdown, but the touchdown was a wide open one. There wasn't anything exceptional to it.
He ran the wrong
and the blocking,
get the touchdown.
Yeah, I did like what he did in the first game, but I still wouldn't say it's anything exceptional. He's a massive human being with ridiculous physical capabilities, so he should be able to look at least okay. I haven't seen him pulling off any Mekhi Becton type blocks or anything. So, from a skill standpoint and what he can be to the team, I think Kenny Yeboah has Kuntz beat.
I agree.
Yeah, I can't argue. I can't argue with that.
I'm missing anything else in here. Kenny has a shot. Okay. Yeah, I think most of these are still cool. Well, I guess we'll cover UDFAs or something next week. We have things to do because we are adults, people. But we appreciate y'all coming through. Dope conversations. Tigo appreciates some of the finer points and some of the guys here that we didn't necessarily know about. Get at me later. I'll shoot it with you so you can, or Gino, link me. We can get you thrown in here on some of these conversations to round things out a little bit. But appreciate you guys again. If you're in the way of Hurricane Hillary, stay safe, take your precautions, do what you need to do. All love, and we'll catch you guys again. Peace.
Peace.
Later.